Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, insyaallah, provided the brother, what's your name? Casas, right? Is still alive.
Augustus.
Yes. Inshallah, he will take shahada. After a long journey, alhamdulillah, we all through all our dua, right? And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide him the right path. So today's topic is something in which all of us will have to encounter, right? When we pass away, right? Because the journey that a soul goes through, right? All of us must truly understand the soul will go through a journey in which, whether you are 12 years old, 11, whether you are 10 years old, 13 years old, and whether front row, all right, alhamdulillah. Well, they can see the front row people, right? You're not 14, you're 44, right? Right? Everybody will have to go that same journey, brothers, right? That all of us surely, right, would want to know more. There are some people, not sure why, that they don't believe that there's such thing as a punishment in the grave, right? Which is very clear in the Quran and also in authentic hadith about the punishment of the grave, right? But always remember, Allah is not about, well, we have such a harsh God, always punish. It's not. Do we have a merciful God?
Yes.
Surely, right? Because Allah is always there to forgive us, always. That's why He has these names. What is the name of Allah being forbearing? Not Kufur or No. Al-Halim. Al-Halim means we have a God who is always waiting for you and me to come back to Him.
Yes.
Right? At all times. Right? Imagine Joseph, right? Before you take Shahadat, Allah could have make you die, is it true? And that itself, right, subhanAllah, it's something in which it's a tragedy because anyone died in a state of disbeliever cannot enter paradise. Surely it is in the Quran, right? And there's nothing to hide from everybody, agreed? Because when Allah said something in the Quran, all of us must truly know that it's the truth from Allah. Yeah. Now, this is something in which the journey that we're going to face about the soul. In what's the difference between in Arabic the ruh and the nafs? What's the difference?
Between
the difference in the meaning between the ruh and the nafs? Because in English it's just the soul, isn't it true?
Yeah.
In Arabic it's different. Yes.
Ruh is when it's inside you. No, nafs is when it's inside you. Ruh is when it's outside your body.
Yes. So when the soul is inside the body, it's called nafs. When it's outside, it's called ruh. As simple as that. Right? So you don't call, because when we sleep, what happened to our soul? Goes up in the sky, isn't it true? We cannot say that it's our nafs. It's the ruh comes up. Right? So when it joins the body, it becomes the nafs. It becomes who you and I are today. Right? Should we provide our soul with a nutritional value of the deen and iman and Islam? We should, isn't it true? Yes. Right? So it's not just to fill up your stomach with food, Yusuf Jr., right? It's also to fill up our ruh, nafs, with ability to be nutritionalized with iman, taqwa, and guidance of Allah. It's quite important, right? So, how much do we know about our soul?
Very little.
What did Allah say in the Quran? And who said what? Right? This was when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked about the soul. Salam. Right? Bilal, I'm so sorry. Can you sit behind?
Yeah, but no matter.
Because you are
Tall.
very big.
I get
May
to
Allah
find
reward you.
You know,
Right?
Yeah.
So, what was my question?
About the soul, the knowledge we have.
Yes, it is very little knowledge. What happened? How do we know this? Okay, so my question again, next question is, how was Surah Al-Kahf revealed? Surah number 18.
Did the Quraysh want to test the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ if his true prophethood?
Yes, right? Somebody from home who is nicely drinking coffee and sitting down on his bed, listening, alhamdulillah, answered it very well, alhamdulillah, right? It's about how the Quraysh would surely know whether he's a real prophet or not, isn't it true? So they went to the rabbis in Medina and asked the rabbis, because the rabbis, the people of the book, surely they would know better, right? Whether Muhammad ﷺ is a real prophet. So the rabbis advised them, ask him these 3 questions. If he can answer them, he's a real prophet. The first question was, ask him about about the person, people of the cave, right? Second one, the person who travels east and west, Zulqarnain. The third question was, ask him about the soul, right? If he knows these 3 questions, then he was a real prophet. So what did Prophet Muhammad say when they asked this question? No. He answered, I will give you the answer tomorrow. He didn't say inshallah. Right? So Allah was not pleased with him.
Yes.
Right? And the answer came only about 15 or 16 days later. So if you read Surah Al-Kahf, right? Allah said, do not say you're going to do so also without saying inshallah. What does inshallah means? Yasin? Yes, right? With God wills, right? That only because when we go about saying to other people, okay, we're going to come to this lesson, inshallah, right? But inshallah has been abused, right? Because it has been abused by many Muslims. They say inshallah, but they know they're not coming.
They don't mean
For example, they don't mean it.
Yes.
Agree?
It's just a password to get away from
Yes,
around.
right? So you have to be very careful with this, right? When you say inshallah, right? Now, so the third question was about the soul. The answer was given by Allah, as I said, 15 or 16 days later. Turn to Surah number 17 in verse number 85. Yeah, 1785, Allah said, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Right? 17, verse number 85. They ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, concerning the ruh. Say the ruh is one of the things, the knowledge of which is only with my Lord or my Rabb. And of knowledge you, that means us, you and me, have been given only a little. This is the problem, right? Joseph Senior, right? Gawal, right? And in the eyes of disbelievers, they just guess about the soul, right? Oh, I want to meet, some people die, right? I want to call them back to this life. Isn't it true? So they would sit in a circle, they hold hands, and somebody would come, and they saw some shadows pass by, or somebody talk to them, and all this, and they think that the dead or the deceased has come back. Isn't it true? Some people, you saw in some movies, on some, right, and on some of these what do you call it, YouTube videos, right? And they sit in a circle, but actually it's not true. Whatever things that we do not know, we cannot assume things, which a lot of people are doing, right? As I said on yesterday's class in the NW10, about when, for example, when Prince William was giving a speech in King Charles coronation, right? He said something like, "Oh, my grandmother is looking down at us, smiling." This is quite common, isn't it, in the Christian concept, right? When you die, you are in the sky, or one of the stars looking at us. It's complete nonsense because you are guessing. The truth is not about guessing. Agreed? Umar?
What about, like, for example, some cultures, especially like in like East Asia, they say like the ancestors are watching over them.
Yeah, it's completely wrong, isn't it true? We're going to go in details about this, whether they can actually look at us from beyond. That's why the word Barzakh is something in which, if you know the literal meaning of Barzakh, Barzakh means a barrier. A barrier. Yeah. In Surah Al-Kahf, Surah number 55, in verse number 20, Allah was talking about the barrier between the two seas.
Yes.
Right? Bainahuma barzakhun la yabghiyan. Right? Which means they cannot transgress between the barriers. If you look at again the YouTube videos and also in National Geography, you can see the clear demarcations between the salt water and the fresh water. They cannot mix. And this is called Barzakh. Right? We're going to go later in the Quran about Barzakh, which Allah used in relation to this, to the one that the ruh that when somebody died. Okay, let's go through very briefly when somebody died. Right? You're divided whether you are a believer or a sinner and disbeliever. Sinner and disbeliever come under the same category about how difficult it would be when they die. The hadith is very extensive and very detailed about this. Islam is always very transparent. There's nothing to hide, isn't it true? That all of us must truly know about our detailed how we're going to leave this earth. Like it or not, all of us will go through the same fate. Before we die, there will be a group of angels who will be waiting to deliver or to take over from the angel of death. The one who is going to take our soul will definitely be only one, which is the angel of death. Don't ask me what happened. There's 100 deaths. Are there many angels of death? We do not know.
You don't know.
Right? The things that are the unseen, we don't need to question. It's not important. Do you agree? Right? How come there's one death in China at 1 o'clock in the morning, one death in India 1 o'clock in the morning, one same time? I do not know, and it's not important to know about this unseen. All we know is that before we die, there will be a group of angels who will be in front of us, and you will know, right? I give you an example of my stepsister, right, before she passed away, and she said, right, Abdurrahman, right? She said, who's that at the door? Invite him in. Invite him in. But alhamdulillah, the fact she wants to invite him in, that means he's a nice looking person, isn't it true? If somebody who is horrible, right? Nobody wants, who's that, you know? Get rid of him or her, right? So, sorry?
Close the door.
Close the door. Sorry?
Pass away. How long after this?
I think a few days,
Okay.
right? Now, so this is important, right? So these are the angels who will take over from the angel of death after the soul comes out of the body, right? So if you're a believer, inshallah, all of us will fall into this state, right? The soul will be taken out very easy, just like the water coming out of a spout, very easily taken out. Right? That doesn't mean there's no pain, right? All that are very, very painful, right? Whether you're a believer or not believer, it is a painful, but it's easier than a disbeliever. Yeah, so it's going to come out, yeah, and it's going, and immediately after the soul comes out of the body, these angels will take over immediately, within a fraction of a second, and the soul will be shrouded in a nice smelling fragrance mask or smell, right? Before, and it will be lifted to the different levels of skies, right? And this is where, according to many scholars, the other souls that have passed away would ask, how was the thing? They will communicate with the soul that has just passed away. How was Abdullah in this life? How was Saba? How was Nardi and all this, Abdul Rahman? How was he? And he will be answered, perhaps because if you're believers, oh, he's alhamdulillah, he's praying and all this kind of thing. He'll be answered. Right, and these are the souls that has passed away, and it's subhanallah, it's going to happen to all of us, right? So at the gate of of the always remember, you will come across in many scriptures or many books about this, and they use the word heaven. Right? Heaven is not paradise. When Allah talk in the Quran about as-sama, which is singular, or as-samawat, which means the levels of skies, the skies. It's not paradise. Is paradise open yet?
No.
No. Right?
For the bird.
Only for the souls, not the birds. Souls of those whom Allah has chosen will be from a green bird to enter Jannah, to eat from the fruits of Jannah, right? And that's only for these people. The rest is not open yet. Understand? Paradise is not open yet.
Yeah, you mentioned there's 7 skies.
So 7 skies, if you read, I'm just teaching you, right? If you read literatures from Google and all this, Assalamualaikum, Usama. This is my dictionary of Quran. It's from Saudi. Right, from the mosque, AICC mosque in North London. Now, what was I?
Talking about 7 skies.
Yeah, so when you reach this a soul of a believer, right? Everybody will say, who is this nice looking, nice smelling soul that is on the first level, right? You would invite the soul to enter the skies, right? And then you will go to next level, same thing. There's other souls will be there, next level until the 7th level. Allah would ask the record of the believer to be, it is called Illiyun, isn't it true? Right, you heard about Illiyun? No, the soul. Yeah, it's similar because Prophet Muhammad in his Isra Mi'raj, in the different levels he met different prophets, right? Yeah, so it's similar. Yeah.
Who are the souls in the 7 skies then in the meantime, like right now? Because they're not in Jannah. It's just they're in the 7 skies.
Yeah.
What souls are they?
They're souls that have already passed away.
Is that the Barzakh?
Sorry? The Barzakh, yes.
Oh, so the 7 skies.
Yeah, yes.
in the Barzakh.
So, but we do not know exactly what it is. I'm just saying about the hadith.
Okay.
Right? So they are the souls that people have passed away. They can communicate with you.
Okay.
Right? So this is important, and they will return back to the earth in order to do what?
Questioning.
To be questioned. So let me position myself.
Yeah.
So you will actually be, okay, you're lying down, right? The body's lying down, right? Somehow or other, your soul will be propped up like this, sitting down. Your legs straight, and you'll be sitting like this, and you have to answer to the questions of who questioned? Munkar and Nakir. They are the black and blue angels who are very fierce looking. We will ask you the same questions, whether you are king, queen, whether you are believer, non-believer. They will ask the same question, right?
So you won't be lying down again, you'll be sitting up.
You're sitting up, your soul, right? Of course, not the body, right? You cannot see the body sitting up, right? Because the soul, right? And then you'll be asked what's the questions, Osama?
Who's your Lord?
Man Rabbuka, right?
Madinuka, Manabiyuka.
So who is your Lord, right? Who's Allah, right? And who is your prophet?
Yes.
And what is your deen?
Your religion.
What's your religion? That's why all of us, I know it's nothing to memorize, but it's hadith, right? In morning, evening, adhkar, you will say, Raditu billahi rabba, wa bil islami dina, wa bi Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam nabiyya. Right? What does it mean? I'm pleased that Allah is my Lord, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my messenger, right? And Islam is my deen, right? If the hadith goes that if you say this 3 times in the morning, 3 times and 3 times in the evening, you will die being pleased in the hereafter. Yes.
Is it true you'll only be able to answer it if you used to believe and practice Islam, or can anyone who knows it can answer it?
Yeah, so in the sense that you cannot memorize this. Who will guide us? Allah. Allah will guide us to answer this. I'm sure that a few times when you study for exams, right, of the Majid, you know the answer, for example. I'm talking about the normal exams in school, right? Somehow they cannot answer. It just slip out of your mind. You agree? It's
Even
all.
if you try to think about
You
it.
cannot think.
Yeah.
You're panicking or something just slip of your mind. You cannot think. Same thing as this, right? Only Allah will guide you and me in order to to answer these questions. It sounds simple, But first of all, you have this pressure. Secondly, we do not know what language. Don't say it's Arabic. We do not know, right? It's not your language, right, Usama? We do not know what language it is, right? But surely, whether you understand Arabic or not, you will understand, and Allah will guide you to answer this question, right? So important that you understand this, right? So, and then after that, you be shown, or you will be in a situation where you will be in a place called Barzakh. That means you will not be able to come out of this, right? And secondly, for the belief, I'll just go with the believers first, right? The place of how you're resting will be expanded. There's be a lot of light, right? There'll be a good-looking person next to you. What would the person do? They are your good deeds, right? And they will remind you about Jannah, and you will be shown the windows of Jannah, right? And subhanAllah, according to some narration, the breeze of Jannah will come to you. The breeze of Jannah. When you go to a nice place in the countryside, you know, right? It's very fresh, very refreshing, and that kind of thing. Right? Sorry, below your question.
I was saying the Barzakh is like waiting lounge, right? Like when you wait on a plane.
Yes.
And you stay in that place, you can't come out.
Yes. You want to get the chairs from somewhere? Is there any chairs behind?
No.
Yeah.
I'll go look somewhere else
Yeah, please.
for a chair.
Let's go. Okay. Yeah. So this is how it is a believer is, right? Whereas a disbeliever or a sinner, are they Muslims?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So don't expect everybody will get the same thing, right? Those of the Muslims who are not able to practice Islam well, right? They did not submit to Allah properly, right? Rest assured that how you are will be very, very different. Yeah. First of all, instead of having nice-looking angels waiting for you, you have all these angels who are very rough-looking and very smelly, waiting for you, and they will. Now, when you see somebody die, especially disbeliever or sinner, even though they say, oh, they died very calmly, whatever things that is inside happens in the unseen, you do not know, right? So always remember this, right? It doesn't mean that, you also see people, the disbelievers will also say, oh, this person, they died nicely, peacefully, calmly, right? That definitely wouldn't happen for a disbeliever, especially, right? In the other world. Once we leave this world, the dimensions are completely different, very different, right? In which none of us can understand what it is, right? How can you, brothers, all of us, inshallah, we talked about the day of judgment before. How can I expect to cross the sirat, the bridge, thinner than hair, sharper than knife? It's illogical, isn't it, true? For you and me today, in today's world, to cross that kind of bridge. But it will happen. So we are in different dimensions completely, right? And this is something which we must be very worried. How on earth will we cross this bridge that is thinner than hair and sharper than knife? Yeah. So coming back to disbeliever, completely different scenario than the believer, right? The soul will be taken up by the angel of death, right? In a very rough and how was it described? Can you remember the hadith?
Like wool being
Like pulling a
torn
wool
out.
torn out of this very rough. And of course, very, very painful. So it doesn't mean that, oh, it dies peacefully. It doesn't mean that nothing happened.
You should prepare that, yes, so I can come in.
Did you come on the beach? Huh? You need to get the chair. So, yeah, so these are horrible looking angels, very smelly, right? So the person will be shrouded with these dressings of hellfire. So everything will be on fire, your dressing for the disbelievers and the sinner, right? And they will only go to the first level because nobody wants them. Yeah? I know you go to the gym, but cool. Look at the biceps. And so this is very important that you understand this, right? That they will only go to the first level. because nobody wants to see them, right? And after that, they will be thrown down like this piece of material that goes down from the sky in a very, very high speed, and they will rejoin to the body, the soul, right? And then there will be questions, and they cannot answer these questions. What happened after that?
So punishment begins.
Now, what happened if they don't answer the questions?
They'll be smashed by a melon.
Like a hammer, if the hammer were to knock at any mountains, the whole mountains will collapse. And this person, the head, will be knocked with a hammer. And they will scream of force, right? And so this is the situation of a believer, a non-believer, and a sinner. Very different, right? It is something, brothers, that we do need to think about, because we do not know, as I said just now in your WhatsApp group, somebody just passed away. One of the person who was always in the mosque for 30, 40 years at least, right?
Yes, it's he passed away.
Yeah. And alhamdulillah, they show us when you saw the face of a dead person, you actually think about one day all of us are going to be the same, right? Nobody's going to be handsome, right? When you die, right? So, and you can see, how alhamdulillah, he was very peaceful, right? He was very calm, a lot of nur on the face and all this. Alhamdulillah, he was the people of the mosque. But there's something in which, when we look at death, surely it must remind ourselves about our faith in the future, isn't it true? So I think somewhere, hopefully in July, perhaps we're going to organize a trip to the grave, inshallah, right, to the cemetery, in order for all of us to understand that our permanent home is not in Camden, in Chelsea, in Kensington, right? It will be 6 feet under the ground. That is where we were going to be for all of us. Yes.
So when we call it the punishment of the grave.
Yes.
But really, most of it is not happening on earth. It's happening somewhere.
Somewhere we do not know. Yeah. Because the grave is a place where the body is, right? The physical body is like most of us will decompose anyway, right?
Oh, okay. So I'm for example,
the body is not punished. The soul is
you
punished.
Squeeze.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, in my head, to comprehend it, you're in a grave or you're being squeezed.
Yeah.
Obviously thinking it's a place like.
You mean look in the body is being squeezed? No, yeah. Because it's just a body. It's just a physical dressing.
Okay.
So the squeeze is the grave, the rock.
Yes, it's the rock.
Okay.
Yeah. But in order to make it more, I would say, to make it more relatable, if we talk about roh in a very abstract way, nobody will understand, is it true?
Yes.
Right? Because when we talked a bit before about how for the believer the place where you're going to stay will be expanded, whereas for this believer your rib cage will be squeezed, is it true? But if you talk about the roh, of course it wouldn't be this rib cage of your body, isn't it true? But if you talk it so abstract, then people won't understand. It needs to be more relatable so that you will understand. For example, the pain of there's another thing, whether you're a believer or disbeliever, there's a squeeze of the grave. You heard about this?
Yeah.
So much so that you feel that your intestine is bursting. Right? Everybody will feel the same. Right? So all I'm trying to say, it must be something that you can relate to. Can you imagine your intestine being burst?
No.
Right? It's quite cringy, isn't it, John? Yes, Joseph? You're so sorry.
When our soul go from the dunya, way to the heaven, we're gonna be able to remember of the dunya.
Yes, of course. We can remember what we did.
What we did.
Yes. That is what the difference, I haven't finished that sort of a disbeliever and a sinner. Then after that, you will be shown, instead of having this nice breeze from the paradise, for the disbeliever and sinner, you have the heat from the hellfire, right? It's going to be very, very hot, right? And not only this, it's going to be very dark. And instead of having a nice looking person, you have a horrible looking person, smelly person to be at your side, sleeping beside you, reminding you about what you have done.
Is that your evil deeds?
How long we gonna be there? How long people?
Until the trumpet is blown.
Again.
Yes, which is the beginning of the day of judgment. And not only that,
How until the trumpet is
trumpet blown, because that is not the day of judgment yet. Remember we discussed on from the day of judgment, the first sign of the day of judgment begins the blow of trumpet by Israel. Right?
Oh, so I think it's correct because the punishment of the grave, it takes place immediately after you die.
Immediately after.
And then in the time between that and the
whole
Yom Qiyamah is, we don't
Yes, we do not know. Some scholars said because when you're having a good time, immediately there are judgment. You remember when you have a nightmares? It seems as if nightmares run forever, is it true? You cannot wake up and then you're like so long, but you're having a good time immediately. Oh, because alhamdulillah, when I dreamt of Prophet ﷺ myself, it's like very fast. I woke up. My God, I was having a good time with the Prophet. Then I woke up. You know what I mean? And then, but when you're having a nightmare, right? Of course, I might have a few nightmares and all this, but it seems forever. So the same thing is in the because some scholars say about the soul, right? When some scholars said because when you're having a good time and all this, immediately the day of judgment comes, because time passes very fast. But when you are being punished, you feel forever, right? And this is how it is about us, the soul of the disbeliever and the believer and the sinner. Yes.
So, quick question: the squeeze of the grave. When does that happen?
Immediately after you get.
Before you go up. Or
yeah, before you go up, I think.
Before you go up.
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
Yes.
I heard something on TV yesterday that there's 3 things that follow you to the grave. I don't know if this is true. It's authentically. Your wealth, your family,
yes,
and your deeds. So there's 3 things that follow you to the grave, and 2 things come back to the dunya.
Yes.
And 1 thing stays with you.
Yes.
Your deeds stay with you. Your wealth and your family go back.
Yeah, it's true.
That's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's why we are in this life not for fun, isn't it true? Not to go to Ibiza, or to take drugs, right? It is. Miami, Barbados, be in your speedos, right? In summer, and this is something in which you know, as much as we are trying to make light of this issue, brothers, right? But it is going to be a very serious issue, right? That all of us must face, right? Now, so it is important, right, that we truly understand that Sabah, whatever that we know about the soul, it must be from authentic hadith. And what Allah says in the Quran, we just say in Surah number 17, verse 85, what we know is only a little, right? The rest of the things we do not know. For example, I'm resting. What do I do there? We do not know. It's not given to us. So we just assume that we're just enjoying ourselves there, inshallah, in the Barzakh. Right? Now, because some of the Muslim cultures, like my culture, for example, right? And I'm sure Omar, you're laughing, right? In Egyptian culture, so I'm sure the same. In all this, when you went all this place in Turkish, right? After 7 days, 40 days, there's all this reciting Surah Yasin to the deceased and all this. So that if you don't recite Surah Yasin, the deceased will be in trouble and all this. Do be careful that this is not authentic, right? So whatever things that we read through the Quran authentic hadith, that is the one that we know, right? So people in my culture, if you ask them, why do you do this? Why when you die you recite Al-Fatiha? Nobody knows. Just follow your forefathers. Agreed? And we must not do this, right? Because when you do this, right? Because surely the Quran, when Allah said, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, this is a book, there's no doubt about it, a guidance for the people of taqwa. When you die, do you have any taqwa? And in the sense that, is taqwa important when you die? It's important for if you do it when you're living, isn't it true?
Yes.
But when you are dead, it's too late, isn't it true?
Yeah.
Guidance is for the living or for the dead? For the living, not for...
That's a dead.
Okay, so I thought for the dead.
No.
It is too late, isn't it true, to get guided when you die? So this is important, brothers, that we truly understand about these practices that practice in different cultures, right? That we truly do what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did, and the Sahaba and the companions and the Tabi'in, the followers of the Sahaba did, not in any other ways. Okay? Now, Sheikh Al-Fawzan rahimullah said, right, in this topic about Kitab Al-Tawheed, the places of residence, as Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimullah said, are 3. There are 3 places of residence. The first residence is, of course, in this life. Sorry? It's not dead yet?
No, it's not.
Okay, sorry. He mentioned in his Tawheed, right, about Ibn al-Qayyim, right? The three places of residence. The first residence is this world. What is our functions in this life? What is our function in this life? To worship Allah, right? If you look in Surah number 23, right, verse number 115. Allah said, "Afa hasibtum annama khalaqnakum abathan wa annakum ilayna la turja'un." Do you think that we created you in this world without any purpose, and that you will not be returned to us, right? And it's quite important verse, right? The verse, surely we are created in this world for a purpose. Right? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Which surah is this? 51? Verse number? 56. Right? That Allah said, I did not create the jinn and mankind except they should worship me. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Right? So Al-Mulk, verse number 2. That he created death and life so he may test us which one of us at best in deeds. Right? So the whole world, our residence yet, it is to prepare ourselves, right, for the hereafter. Agreed? The next stage is in Barzakh, which is our topic for today. Right? It is a place of, inshallah, for all of us here in this room, and of course those who are sitting down nicely in drinking iced lemon tea at home, right? It is for this Barzakh, we inshallah, with Allah's will and Allah's guidance, we will be resting just like a bridegroom, right, ready to for the day of judgment, right? For those who are sinning in this life, right, they would be punished, right? And according to this is authentic hadith and scholars and all this, and they say that if, for example, you are buried next to a sinner or disbeliever, for whatever reason, right? Even though, so you are in a different dimension, you do not know what happened to them, neither they would know what happened to you, right? And you cannot, and our place of rest inshallah will be expanded, and that will be squeezed. You wouldn't know what's happening. But according to some scholars, you can communicate with another soul from another part of the country. Yes. No, this is from Islam 2A and all this, right? So this is communications. Yes.
That's like some of the Sufis, they say that their shuyukh can answer.
That's different. No, they cannot answer. We're going to talk about it later, all right? Let me elaborate to you a little bit later, inshallah, all right?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think, isn't there a concept of morning and evening as well? Because in the Quran,
yes,
they're exposed to the
yes.
fire morning and evening.
Yes, we're going to go talk about it later, inshallah. Okay? Yes, yes.
There was a video about a few days ago, I think it was from in Pakistan.
Yes.
A child, a small girl, 10 years old, was being dead and buried already.
Yeah.
Maybe you have seen that when it was a
No,
burial.
yeah.
But her mom was watching that, having a dream every night, that next to me is someone that is getting the punish of the grave.
Yes.
Have you seen that one?
I heard it long time ago.
So I need to be moved, and they talk with the mufti.
Yes.
To remove it, the mufti then allowed them that to just take out the child.
Yes.
And there was, mashallah, was completely like she's sleeping.
Yes.
You saw that one.
Yeah.
Is that but as you say, because they're not going to see the punishment of the next person?
They don't. Yeah.
So
So
they can feel that they're getting punished or not?
yeah, because it's quite near the place, right? They can feel it, all this, right? That's one of the reasons why we are buried in a Muslim grave, isn't it true? You shouldn't mix with the graves and all this. Even in Singapore, Ahmadiyya is considered as a disbeliever. You know Ahmadiyya?
Yeah.
People who believe that there's a prophet, other Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? They consider disbeliever. They are not in the Muslim grave. They have their own grave.
The Ahmadis.
Ahmadis.
the Ahmadis. So this is something I've heard that I wanted to ask about.
Yeah.
I haven't heard them say something about. I heard them say about Khalifa, but they also believe.
They believe that after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's their own prophet called Ghulam Ahmad. Yes. So because yeah, of course. So okay, so anyway, that's another story, right? All I'm trying to say, right, in this Barzakh, right, that we are living is the second stage of our residence, in which all of us will have to be there. There's no choice, right? And the third stage is the stage of hereafter. Is it a long journey? Yes, 50,000 years. Right?
After Yom Kippur.
Yes, after the first blow of trumpet,
Then 50,000 years.
50,000 years. Right? Yes.
I hope so. 50,000 years sounds like a long time.
Sorry? Yes. Right? Brothers, right? So, of course, when examples are given, it wouldn't be so vague, is it true?
Yeah.
When say 50,000 years in a dunya term. Again, we do not know, of course, right? So, but when Allah said, well, 50,000 years, and Muhammad sallallahu means 50,000 years in the dunya, 50,000 years, right? And it's important that we realize this. It's a long journey, right? What have we prepared for the hereafter? Right? All of us must really, truly understand, yeah? Now, yes.
Non-believers, where are they going to be then at that time?
Where?
When you go to the bazaar?
Maybe in the Barzakh, right? Yes, okay. But they will be in a place in which the place of rest will be squashed,
in the naughty
right? Yeah, right. They will be shown, or they will blast from the hellfire onto them and all this.
In
yes.
the bazaar.
Yes, in the Barzakh. Yeah, yeah. Now, brothers, I cannot describe what is Barzakh in detail because we are not informed. Is it a big place? Is it everybody clumped together? We do not know, right? But what we know was that individually how everybody will be treated or we will face, right? You just need to know this, right? As I said just now, for the sinners and disbelievers, there will be all this horrible-looking person, which is their bad deeds at the side. They will remind them about what they did in this life, right? Now, another verse in the Quran that Allah informed us about Barzakh, and this is the only verse that Allah informed us about Barzakh, is in Surah number 23, verse number 99 to verse number 100. Right? حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعوني لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. Right? This is the only verse in the Quran Allah uses the word barzakh to indicate there's a barrier after we die, right? Until when death comes to one of them, he says, my Lord, is 23, verse number 99 to 100, right? My Lord, send me back so that I may do good in that which I have left behind. No, it is but a word that he speaks, and behind them is barzakh, a barrier until the day when they will be resurrected.
That's Surah Al-Mu'minun.
Yes, verse number 99 to 100. Yeah. So this is important that Allah even put this word barzakh to mean a barrier in which they cannot come out, whether you like it or not. Yeah. In another verse, right, we know about the punishment, as you said, about morning and afternoon, about Fir'aun, right, in Surah number 40, verse number 46. Yeah. An-naru 40, verse number 46. Yeah. An-naru yu'raduna 'alayha غدوا وعشيا ويوم يقوم الساعة أدخلوا على فرعون أشد العذاب. The fire, they're exposed to it morning and afternoon, right? And this is not the day of judgment. No? This is not the hellfire, right? And on the day when the hour will be established, it will be said to the angels, cause the Fir'aun people to enter the severest torment. So after that, the day of judgment comes, then the Fir'aun will enter the horrible, the most severe torment. So in the meantime, this morning and afternoon, that the disbelievers or sinners will be punished in this barzakh. Okay. Questions?
When will Quran be punished after the barzakh or
in barzakh?
He's going to be punished, but you said when the trumpet's blown.
Yes, they will be in the severest level, the worst level hellfire.
Okay. So
who will be the lowest level hellfire in the hereafter? Munafiq in surah number 4, verse number 145.
Nisa.
And it's verse 145. And this one, because of this verse, right?
The one at the tablecloth where they asked for the
table, right? The Al-Ma'idah, because they wanted to see Allah's miracle, right? And Allah gave them the miracle, and this disbelief that the food came down, isn't it true? Right? That's what they requested. That is why when Prophet Muhammad refused, or should I say, the Quraysh was asking Prophet Muhammad, "Oh Muhammad, we will only believe, right, if we see these whole mountains becomes green, right, and the mountains becomes gold, and only when the rivers pass by, then we believe, right?" So Muhammad of course asked Allah. We need to take outside. This is the child's seat. Okay. No, this is Joseph's. So when Muhammad our beloved prophet asked Allah regarding this, right? What did the Quraysh want? The whole mountain becomes gold, everything becomes, the desert becomes green, and then the rivers pass by. What did Allah say? Allah said, yes, I'm going to give them this, but if they were to disobey me, I'm going to give them a punishment that has never been had before. Or you want them to, or do you not want all this and they become patient and I show my mercy? Right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right? So that means they don't have this, but if they make mistakes, Allah will give them mercy. Of course, Muhammad chose the second option for mercy. Brothers, if you were to see the angels coming down, right, giving us the Quran, this is the Quran, right, and if there is this passage to go to the skies, we see everything clearly. Do you think people will not make any sins? Yeah, they think it's magic, or they think some people will forget.
clouds and heaps.
Yeah. So this is important, that we understand this, that Prophet Muhammad did ask Allah, and he chose the option that we wouldn't get all these miracles, but if we were to make any mistakes, we will be granted mercy. Okay. Now let's talk about the punishment in Barzakh. It's a long hadith. I'm going to read for you, inshallah, from Samurah bin Jundub. May Allah be pleased with him. Narrated Prophet Muhammad often used to ask the companions, did any one of you had a dream? Right? So he had a dream in which he went with two of the angels. What did he see in the dream? You can listen to this, right? So this is the dreams that he saw. First of all, he said, I set out with them and came across a man who was lying down, right? And then another man standing over him, holding a big rock, right? And the rock was thrown at the man's head, smashing the man's head. And then the rock rolled away, and after that, the same person took the same rock, and the head was reformed again and smashed again. Right? This is punishment in the first part. This is the first punishment, right? And then Prophet Muhammad asked the companions, Subhanallah, who are these two people, right? And they said, move on. Next scenario, right? Went on and it came on to a person lying flat on his back, right? And then another man standing over him holding an iron hook. And the iron hook will be stretched and destroy all these faces, including the eyes, nose, and ears, all be destroyed. And then the next thing, it will be reformed again, and another side, the hook will be destroying the whole face, right? And Muhammad asked, what is this? Who is this person? And the companion said, move on, right? The next one, we went on and came to something like a tanur. Tanur means an oven, right? In which people is usually used to bake bread and all this, right? And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that he heard so much noise. And then we looked inside and we saw naked men and women, right, were being burned. And they cried loudly. I asked my companions, who are these people? And they said, move on, right? Next is a person who swam in a river. It's so red, it's like blood, right? And then when he was swimming, there's another man who would throw stones or pebbles into the mouth. And the person swim again, and then the same person would throw the pebbles in the mouth. And Muhammad ﷺ was asking, who is this? And they would say, move on, right? So this is the next scenario, right? The next one, came to a man who had the most repulsive appearance imaginable. So a horrible appearing looking person. Beside him there was a fire which he was kindling. He was lighting this fire and he was running around it. I asked my companions, who is this man? They said, move on. Be patient, the answer is going to come soon, inshallah, right? So we went on until we reached the garden of deep green dense vegetation with all kinds of spring colors. In the midst of this garden, there was a very tall man, so tall that we couldn't see who he was, right? And around him there were children, a great number, such as I've never seen. I said to my companions, who is this man? Who are these children? And they said, move on, right? So we went on. We came to a huge garden, bigger and better than I've ever seen before. The two companions said, go up. So we went up until we reached a city built of gold and silver bricks. We went to the gate and asked for it to be opened. It was opened and we entered the city, where we found men on one side of the bodies. One side, very handsome, very good looking, but another side, very horrible, right? And then there was a river flowing through the city and its water was pure white. The man went and threw himself in this river and came out and the ugliness were all gone, right? And they were in the best of shape. The two companions said to me, this is paradise of Eden, and that is your place. And I looked up at the palace, white with a white cloud, right? They said to me, that is your place. And I said to them, may Allah bless you both, let me enter it. Muhammad ﷺ wanted to enter his place in paradise. And they said, for now, you will not enter it, but you shall enter it one day. Right? So I said to them, I've seen many wonders that night. What do all these things mean? Right? So we will explain. We will tell you now. Right? The man which you came across, whose head has been smashed with a rock, is the man who studied the Quran. But he neither practices it or acts upon it or recites it. And when he goes to sleep, he neglected the obligatory prayers. Okay? Understand? Yeah. When the head was smashed, right? This is hadith for Muslims, or authentic, inshallah, right? It's because the person knows the Quran.
Understands it as well.
Yes.
Is that munafiq basically?
No.
Well, not necessary, right? It's just one of those people, inshallah, it's not us, who read the Quran, but we don't practice it. And when he goes to bed, he did not do the obligatory prayers. Yeah? The next one, the man who destroyed the side of the mouth, right? Is a person who? No, lies, right? Who lies. And then, not only that, brothers, listen to this hadith, right? If this were to be before the social media era, I couldn't believe it, right? This was what it said, right? He tells a lie that is so serious that it spreads all over the world. All over the world. Yeah. Pre-social media, when you have all those, don't have all this TikTok and all this, right? You wouldn't believe, is it true? I wouldn't, yeah, precisely. I don't know what's happened in Barbados, in Sudan, in Afghanistan. I wouldn't know. But now with social media, all right, very easy to spread lies and news. So do be careful with social media, right? Sorry? Yeah. Right? Now the next one, the one with the river of blood, right? The stones into the mouth are those who consume riba or interest, right? The ugly-looking man you saw kindling the fire and walking around it is who? Malik, the keeper of hell, right? The tall man whom you saw in the garden was Ibrahim. And who was the people around it?
The kids that died before.
The children that died before puberty. Subhanallah, right? And it was even, some Muslim asked, oh Messenger of Allah, what about the children of the mushrikeen? He said the children of mushrikeen too. Because everybody's born inside a fitra, right? They do not know, or in a sense, we know about the three things that are lifted, but the pen is lifted. What are the three things? That means you're not accountable to your deeds. Insanity, when you're insane. Secondly, when you're in deep sleep, right? And secondly, when you are before puberty. This means that you are deep sleep.
When you sleepwalk, can you kill someone?
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking like
Okay.
but it does.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
You got to pretend you're sleeping.
But the one who was in the known for
Tanur was the one who, sorry, I missed because nobody, I missed it. He's the person who did the zina.
Oh,
Right.
you can tell.
Well, that was a woman and men mixed together.
Yeah, mixed together, right? Do zina.
That the women and men in that fire.
In the big,
Does that
Baking
include
flame.
adultery and fornication?
yeah, everything.
Everything.
Yes. Right. And the man who is what do you call it? Half handsome, half side ugly. Who are these people? They were mixed with good and bad deeds. That means, like it or not, some people who are sinners, they have good deeds, but they will be purified in hellfire and deep into the river of life, and they will be saved by Allah. But only after years of being punished. But brothers, the hellfire is more than 70 times more than the fire in this earth. It's a huge thing, right? That Allah preserve for people whom they deserve, right? Because at the end of the day, is Allah merciful?
Yes.
So that means if we, inshallah, Allah protect us from this. If any one of us happen to be in hellfire, we deserve it, isn't it true?
Yeah.
Do you agree? We deserve it. Allah's al-adl means the just. Allah will never be unjust. In fact, when we do a good deed, what happened?
You get more.
We get how many times? 10 to 700 times.
Yeah.
But when we do a sin, it's only one sin, isn't it, in general?
I was speaking about that today, on the lower averages, your numbers are going to be good. But
Yeah.
if you've done bad to someone else,
Yeah. And if you have intention to do a good deed, and you did not do a good deed, what do you get?
One.
The reward of that deed. So that means, of course, you don't. If I have intention, I to wake up at tahajjud, right? I set up my alarm clock, I did all the adhkar, I recite, and then I still didn't wake up, I get the reward of tahajjud, inshallah, right? And this is important. If you are coming to the mosque and you didn't join the congregation because there's a traffic jam, right? It's Naked Bike International Day, Naked Bike Day coming soon, right? Next week. That's why
my bike today. I'm going today.
You're going by bike
Look at
today.
me, bro.
But anyway, and if you miss the Jama'ah, right? You get the reward of the Jama'ah.
Yes.
If your intention.
Yeah, but provided you don't join the naked bike because you're late, isn't it? Right? So it is important, right, that we know Allah is always merciful, isn't it true? In fact, on the throne of Allah, on the top is there's the saying, my mercy is more than my anger, the top of the throne. The below part, it is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no might and power except with Allah, right? It's all about Allah's mercy, right? So, yes.
Can you explain something to me? You know, like Surah Hud, verse 108, Allah says that some people are in Jahannam for as long as the heavens and the earth are there, until Allah wills that they, leave.
Yeah.
And some people are in Jannah for as long as the heavens and the earth are there, except by Allah's will. But then it says, after that, it's something that's unending. Can you explain that bit?
Let's look, because I don't trust you.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes translation, no? Or
Yeah.
what is it, surah number?
108.
So, surah number 11,
108.
verse number 108.
Yeah.
And those who are blessed, وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ سُعِدُوا ففي الجنة خالدين فيها ما ذات السماوات والأرض إلا ما شاء ربك عطاء غير مجذوذ, which means and those who are blessed, they will be in paradise, abiding therein for all the time that the heavens and the earth enjoy, except as your Lord wills, a gift without an end. Right? So well, in general, when you are into paradise, okay, this is this hadith. You must have heard of it, right? Allah said, so when we enter paradise, we must not have any impurities, zero, not even an atom weight of impurities. Allah will say to all of us in Jannah, do you want to see my mercy? Then we say, Ya Allah, we are already in paradise. This is your biggest mercy, our biggest blessing. First of all, Allah would do this thing. He would remove his face and will reveal, he will see his face. And next thing he will say is, in other narrations, he will say, the biggest blessing is that I will not be angry with you again. Right? So if we enter Jannah, it cannot be removed because it's zero impurity. Yeah, and that's very important to understand. But in hellfire it's different because it depends on whether a person is committing shirk or not. For a Muslim, right? A person committing shirk, can he be in paradise?
No.
Can he say no? He'll be there forever, isn't it true? But some people are there because of things that are, for example, backbiting or things that Allah cannot forgive, sins against others, for example, right? Then they will be hellfire as long as Allah wills, until it's completely purified. And again, according to the hadith also, they will be deep into rivers of life and they will be completely rejuvenated. And there's a forehead in the hadith, those saved by Allah, and they will enter Jannah. Yeah.
Is that the river they were talking about when the one
yes.
I was going to ask, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You see the hadith you just mentioned, the long hadith of everything.
Yeah.
That's after the Barzakh, right?
Yes.
That's on the day of judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was my question.
Yeah,
and those punishments, are they in hell? Let's say
yes, that punishment is in hellfire. That means after they are judged. Yes. Question?
I heard my brother is taking Shahada today.
Yes.
Why are you waiting for?
Because this is his request. He wants me to finish first, isn't it true? Right?
Okay, I thought maybe it's because of us. I said, let's make it give the reward, chopper.
Because you're scared it's going to, because
we
hearing all
don't know
this.
what's going to happen in the
Hold on.
future.
Yeah, going to hear, inshallah. Okay. Okay. Any questions? This is very interesting hadith. All this long hadith that all of us misunderstand. Sorry? What is it, Gabriel?
Yeah, so I didn't. Who were the people that were in the bread? Maybe I missed that bit. No,
yes. What's the question again? Who are they?
Who were those people?
They are these people who did the zina, who did fornications and all this. Right? I have skipped it because so such a long hadith. It's supposed to be the zina. Okay. Now, any questions before we move on? Okay. So now we know about the life in Barzakh. Right? It is a huge thing, right? And it is. I don't know why people are still not believing in the Barzakh. Some people say that how can we be judged by Allah? Allah can do anything because you are His slave. Agreed, right? So, but the punishment of the grave, or loosely called the grave, or the what do you call it, the Barzakh, right? It is a real thing that will happen. I think it's authentic, inshallah, right? So, last thing before we end, inshallah. So, how do we now protect ourselves from? Okay, before we talk about how we protect ourselves from the grave, can the dead hear us?
Yes.
No.
There's a barrier, so no.
Quran Surah number 27, verse number 80. Say, Innaka la tusmi'ul mauta. You cannot make the dead to hear. Right? That is why you cannot, like some of these sects and all this, they have this, they go to do all the special so-called pious people to make dua to them. All this completely shirk. You have to be careful with that. They cannot hear you, neither can they respond to you. If we were to be able to do that, the first thing I would do is go to who? Prophet Muhammad in Medina. right?
Yeah.
But you can see people still going to the Prophet's grave, so right, making dua to the Prophet and asking to help them. They cannot. Prophet Muhammad cannot respond to us. Secondly, right, Prophet Muhammad can only do one thing. What is it? Intercede, shafa'ah. That's about it. And this is a huge thing, of course. All of us will go to him in order to get intercession, inshallah. Sorry, Chris first.
Isn't there a hadith that says that some graves have more angels that comes to them?
Some what?
Some angels come to some graves more than other graves?
I don't know, I never heard about this. If you come across it, share it with us, inshallah, right? Yes.
Yes, but they said that when they do funeral and the funeral day, that's why they say yes to because they say on the funeral day, hear all the mourners.
Yes, so
they can hear, but they can't respond. That's why they say yes.
no, so only at that point of time, right? When you are being buried, right? That's why one of the Sahaba said, when I'm being buried, right? Do not go away first. It gives me comfort that you are there when I'm being questioned.
Oh, wow.
So slowly, when they can hear your footsteps going home.
Yes.
After that, finished.
I didn't know that previous bit.
Yeah. There's another occasion which Prophet Muhammad was allowed by Allah, right, to talk to the people who died in Battle of Badr. I'm sure about this hadith, right? Battle of Badr, and he was saying, "Have you received Allah's punishment?" Something like that. You know about the truth now, right? And that's about it. And that Allah specifically allowed the people who died in the Badr to hear. You have to remember, Battle of Badr is very important.
The Muslims or the Kuffar?
The Kuffar. Because they were being punished now because they died fighting the Muslims. It's the first battle, right? And this determines the conviction of Islam because it's the first jihad in Islam, isn't it true? It's very important, and they died, the disbelievers, and the Prophet talked to them and said, "Have you seen the truth now? Aren't you being punished now?" Something like that, right? And Allah made them hear what He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a hadith.
Isn't it like something like where He says, "Have you found the promise of Allah to be true? We've found the promise
yes,
of Allah
yes,
to be true."
Yes,
like
yes. So, like for example, right, in the time of Isra Mi'raj, what is Isra Mi'raj?
Journey.
Journey, yeah, from Mecca. Isra means Mecca to Jerusalem in Palestine, of course, right, and then ascension to the skies, right. At that time, only at that time, the prophets are in different levels. Only at that time, not all the time. They're in different levels, right. And then after that, only at that time, the Prophet was leading them the prayers. Isn't it true? He was leading the prayer only that time, not in any other times. But Allah especially have this special occasion because Salah is so important, alhamdulillah, for all of us to be able to meet Allah every day. Yeah. So do be careful about thinking that the pious one who died are able to answer your dua, right? Do be careful about saying Ya Rasulullah, right? Because that itself is a sign of shirk, isn't it true? You only say Ya Allah. Don't say Ya Rasulullah and all this. Nobody can answer your dua. Agreed? Usama? Right?
Some people just say, "Oh, making dua, I'm not praying on the grave and stuff." They're not lead to other things, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Someone sees them doing that.
But seriously, I'll be very honest, right? When I was in Medina sometimes, because I see everybody doing that, right? Because we love the Prophet so much, right? We also want to ask him for things, right? If we can, as you say, right? Shaitan is always coming to us, ask him for things, right? So you shouldn't. Because there is a hadith that when we say salam, what happened? The angels would pass salam to him, and he knows who is it. They say the salam to him. Brothers, on the day of judgment, or in the time of Prophet ﷺ, he said, "I long to meet my beloved. I long to meet my beloved." And the companions were quite shocked. "But aren't you your beloved?" And he said, "No, my beloved are those who will come after you. They have not seen me, but they still believe in me." And he longed to meet us. He will defend us, inshallah, right, on the day of judgment. Yes, sir.
Is it true, Sheikh, this is hadith, that a person who's shaheed, they don't die?
Yes. I mean, not they don't die, but they have a certain freedom. Their soul will be in the form of a green bird to go into Jannah. Remember, Shahid is not just a person who died as a holy war, isn't it true?
Yeah.
Shahid can be, for example, a person who died in a stomach conditions, right? A person who died drowning, a person who died when the earthquake, the building on top of him or her, right? The person that's a Shahid. Sorry? No, but they are being protected. They wouldn't get the punishment of the grave.
Okay.
But still, the Yom Kippur, they're gonna still go through that.
Of course, everybody got to go through that.
Okay.
Remember the person who died as a martyr, he would be in hellfire because of
He wanted honor instead of
showing off, right? Riyah, right? So not everything will be judged on that. You cannot run away from Allah in terms of Allah knows everything is in our heart, right? So it is important that we truly realize this about how we must protect ourselves from punishment of the grave. Agreed? What is the best thing to do? So first of all, Surah Al-Mulk, right? If you know, brothers, that reciting Al-Mulk will protect you from hellfire, from punishment of the grave. Secondly, reciting Al-Mulk will intercede for us until we enter Jannah, or intercede for us until you are forgiven. Surely, you and I would want to memorize Al-Mulk, isn't it true?
You would say every day,
right?
or like
Every day before we sleep, right? But again, memorizing Al-Mulk is not just memorizing without understanding, right? When you know Allah is a dominion, surely we are so small, recommend to Allah. Surely we are so grateful to Allah that we want to please Him at all times, isn't it true? Right? So we need to really memorize and implement Al-Mulk, inshallah. Secondly, okay, what's the dua then? The dua, brothers, before, yeah, we can say Rabbana Atina. No, that is not for the Barzakh, right? Barzakh is, okay, sorry, I take back my words. Yes, of course. Rabbana Atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adzabannar, right? Ya Allah, give us the goodness in this life and the goodness in the hereafter. Because Barzakh is not goodness, is it wrong? Inshallah, and protect us from punishment and hellfire. The dua before we say our salam, what do you say? Allahumma inni a'udzubika min adzabil qabri wa min adzabi jahannam wa min fitnatil mahya wa mamat wa min syarri fitnatil masiihid dajjal. Right? Asking Allah, the first thing to ask to protect from punishment of the grave. Right? So do memorize this dua, inshallah.
before you test them.
Before you, yes, do your salam. Last questions? Before we go into a happy moment.
There's one thing, Chair. Where can you find out like the importance, like of all of the 7 chapters for the surah?
What do you mean
where can
importance?
you find out the importance, like what they're for? You know, like what you just said is for the.
Oh, the excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find that out without?
I'll give you a book, inshallah. Inshallah. All right. Yes.
Yusuf's got a question.
Regarding the hell. We all know that, like, I mean, my religion was know that Lucifer is the one who is the leader of the hell.
Yes.
Is that true?
Lucifer is Iblis, right? Iblis,
Yeah.
right?
It's not an angel.
In hellfire, you mean?
Yes.
Now, into this world, as far as I know, right, I heard from stories of people who had jinns inside them, right? They say that there's a leader who's in charge of them, which is Iblis.
Lucifer.
That is controlling them.
Controlling, that's the leader, like.
I know, I won't mention names, of course, but about this group of this one man, I think, right, who had a jinn inside, and 3 jinns came out, and they're very scared because they're scared of their leader. But eventually, they took shahada, alhamdulillah. The jinn, right? And it is real, your culture, right? You agree, right? All these black magic and all this, right? It's very important that we understand.
He's the manager in the hellfire.
He's a leader. They're very scared of him. But of course, how can we be scared when we have Allah, isn't it true? Right? So they need to have to do da'wah on the jinns also. And eventually they took shahada, alhamdulillah. The 3 jinn. right? But they still live very fearful.
What does it mean that Sheikh, sorry to leader and what is it?
That means he's controlling. He knows, brothers. He knows where they are. He will inflict punishment on them and all this. Allah knows best. These are the things of the unseen. This is what I heard from all these people who are. Yes.
And
So he's a leader that is still alive now, right? According to what they say, and he controls all this. So anybody trying to be funny, they will chase them and they will punish them.
But is he not getting punished rather than being a leader?
Sorry?
Is he not getting punished?
Today? No, because Allah gave him respite with their judgments, isn't it true? Remember in the Quran? In many verses, right? Because he asked Allah, Ya Allah, give me respite in their judgment. Allah gave them. Right? Yes, all this, right? Any questions? Last questions? Is it useful today, the talk? Inshallah? Right? So we really prepare for the hereafter, inshallah. Right? So, good moment now, right? Brother Kestas, yeah? Kestas, right? Kestas, right? Alhamdulillah, how long have you been finding out about Islam?
Just like a few months.
A few months, right? How was the journey?
I wouldn't say difficult.
Okay. But you did believe in Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, quite an early stage, quite earlier in your journey, right? Why did you believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in Allah?
Well, first I was just like interested, and I started like looking up about Islam and everything. Just like can't really explain it, but just like deep down inside, like everything I read felt like right or correct.
Yeah.
Just like agreed. Like there was nothing that I read that was like I disagree with it or this is like doesn't make sense. Or,
yes.
False.
Yeah. So after how many weeks then you believe, okay, there's only one God that needs to be worshipped, inshallah? After how long?
I would say within like a few weeks. Like,
oh, alhamdulillah. And when did you believe?
About like the same time.
Same time, alhamdulillah. Right? But of course, that journey takes a bit longer because everybody is different, right? People want to know, want to be convinced, and want to practice first. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you for all your practices of Islam, your salah and all this, right? And now you're ready to take shahada, right? Do you want anybody to record you taking shahada?
Yeah, I would like to like.
Can you record now, please? Right. But it's a momentous occasion, right? Joseph, you take shahada in an Indonesian mosque. How do you feel on take shahada? Is it a big relief?
Feeling amazing. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Where's the Indonesian?
Is it on your function?
Are you saying that we don't deserve a mosque?
No, I never been to it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, please. Tell me out and then right. So you want to come here? Can you stand up first?
What is it? Is this?
Okay, sorry. Sige, sit down. Can somebody do a favor? Ayman, can you just pour this Zamzam? Which everybody has. This is not a bid'ah, but somebody has this Zamzam water. Just a little. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Okay, brothers, right? I know. Some people have stolen my Zamzam. Okay, so alhamdulillah, right? We are before we take shahadat, of course, we need to remind each other and everybody in this room about the 7 conditions of shahada. 7 conditions, right? So what the first condition of shahada is knowledge, right? That none has the right to worship Allah. That Muhammad is the only servant is knowledge, right? And you know about this knowledge, you have to spend a week planning about this, right? Next one, next condition is
certainty.
Yaqeen, certainty that this is the one. There's no other path of the truth, right? The third one is acceptance. Yeah? Acceptance that whatever things Allah commanded you and me in the Quran, it must be the truth, right? And you must accept it, whatever it is, right? And number 4 after acceptance is submission. Try as best as possible. Are all of us perfect? No, right? When we are doing sins, and then we need to just ask Allah for forgiveness, right? Number 5 is what? Sincerity. Oh, sorry, truthfulness. Everything that Allah said in the Quran is the truth, right? So, for example, when the Isa was born without a father, right? It's impossible to believe, right? But Allah said it is there, is how it is the truth, right? When Isra Mi'raj, right? The journey to travel in one night, yeah, from Mecca to Jerusalem and up to the skies to reach the command to pray 5 times a day is the truth, right? So everything what Allah said is the truth, right? Number 6, it is sincerity. We do it only for the sake of Allah, not that you want to get married. You're gonna get married.
One day, yeah.
Inshallah, yeah. Yeah. So you must be for the sake of Allah.
Married is.
Yeah, for that. No. Your wife knows about you, no? Right? The last one, right? It is that love. Subhanallah, right? Bob, right? That this love that we have, that Allah has chosen us to be Islam, is a real thing, isn't it? Right?
It's a test. It comes with the test.
Yes.
So
Yes, and
the
then
more test starts as soon as you say that. You say the Shahada.
Yes. And it's important to understand that there'll be tests, of course, right? But again, we have Allah to guide us through this test, right? Questions? Okay, good. Right. So you have to repeat after me in both in Arabic and English, right? Ashhadu alla ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, which means I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his slave and his messenger. Takbir. Congratulations. Okay, time for your hugging.
We're waiting for this hug a long time.
Okay, while you're hugging, I'll end the talk. Yeah, subhanallah wa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. We see each other next week inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.